Hi guys, it's Nintendo 13, and I'm coming at you today with a tag response. I was tagged in a video by Retro Power Up where he discussed his 5 most nostalgic video games, and I was definitely looking forward to doing one of these. Um, I don't know, I didn't really have the motivation to get one going until I was tagged, so I was very happy that I did get tagged in one. So thank you very much, Retro Power Up. And if you don't know his channel, I'm gonna leave a link down in the description, and definitely check his stuff out. He's got awesome stuff. So I'm gonna get into my top 5 most nostalgic video games. Now I did this a little different. Um, I only included the games that I actually have in my collection. When I'm all said and done, I will, you know, throw an honorable mention to 2 games that would have definitely been up there in the tops of my list. Probably number 3, probably 3 and 4. I think. I don't know. 3 and 4. So they would have made this stack, but I don't own them yet. Excuse me. Again, I don't own them again. But anyway, so without further ado, let me get to number 5 on my list. This one is a bit of an oddball. It, to me, was the most fun game that I had on the PS2, and I couldn't get the songs out of my head. I played this thing all the time when it first came out, and that is The Bard's Tale. This game was just insane. I loved the songs. They were old, uh, bard style poetry, drinking songs, and yeah, I just right now, even now, just looking at this, I can't get one of the songs out of my head. I beer, 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 tiddly beer, beer, beer. Horrible. Great game though. It was a lot of fun. A lot of comedic value to it, and yeah, I had a lot. That game right there probably was the second most played game on my PlayStation 2, next to the Guitar Heroes. So, okay, now I'm going to move on to my absolute favorite GameCube game. Um, this one, this too was probably the most played GameCube game in my house, not including multiplayer games. So, this one cemented my love for the GameCube, and that is Tales of Symphonia. The story was absolutely wonderful. I enjoyed so much about this. There was several twists in the story that just blew my mind, and I've replayed this probably a dozen times, and every time the story still grabs me, and it definitely holds a dear place in my heart. And thought about picking up the collection. I have the second one on Wii. I didn't really care for that one. But I thought about picking up the collection for the PS3 just to have it, but to me, nothing's ever going to beat the GameCube version. Okay, number 3 on my list is not so much my playing that, I hold so much nostalgic value to this, but because of my mother and stepfather. They literally took over my Nintendo, my only Nintendo. This was, I believe, in 1991. They took it over, and this game was not allowed to be shut off. I couldn't play anything for a year on it. It was it was horrible. I had to take all my games to a friend's house. But that game and this exact copy is the one that was played for so long, and that is Bomberman. They played this so much that, as I talked about before, they ended up getting their names in the high score section of this Nintendo Power. And, it was awesome for me to be able to rescue this exact copy and to come up with the Nintendo Power that had them in it. And that's why that holds the number 3 spot on my list. Oh, let's see. The number 2 spot, this is not the original that I had. I bought this one shortly after I started collecting again, just because I needed to own it. This one, it almost hit number 1. It barely got knocked number 2. But that is MASH for the 2600. Now this game, it was not a bad game. It really wasn't. For the 2600, it was a pretty decent game, and it's quite obscure. But when I got my first video game system, that was 1987, it was at a yard sale, and I ended up paying $10 for the system, and they allowed me to, 10 or 15, it might have been 15. But they allowed me to have 10 games in there. They had like 200. It was crazy. I remember that. It was a lot. But they wouldn't sell them all to me. I didn't have enough money. But they allowed me to pick out 10 games, and my eyes gravitated towards MASH because my dad watched MASH every day at dinner time. It was always on. Almost my entire life it's always been on. 2 episodes at a time around dinner time. Depending on what channels you got, you can still find it on 4 or 5 times a day. But yeah, because of the love that I developed for the TV show, that game right there I knew that I had to have. And it didn't live up to the show, but still, it was one of the very first video games that I had ever owned, and it had a special place because of the fact that it was tied to my dad. And finally, my number 1 most nostalgic game, that would be Dragon Warrior for the NES. Now, this was my first, my first look at a role-playing game. I had never seen one, experienced one before this. And my mother had gotten a subscription for me for Nintendo Power. And little did I know, when she ordered it, it came with a free copy of this. I guess they had sold so poorly in the U.S. that they decided to bundle them with Nintendo Power. And lo and behold, RPGs took off for us. Well, that developed a love for role-playing games for me. This is my original copy. This is the one that I had as a child, I first got from my Nintendo Power. Sadly, I no longer have the box or the maps or the manual that come along with it, but I will piece that together. That was a great kit that they sent you. It had several cards, it had maps, it had posters. It was a really cool intro into role-playing games, and I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am if it wasn't for that game right there. So that's why that one eked out the first place spot from MASH. It was a tough call though. But there are 2 honorable mentions that would have made this top 5 and bumped out a couple others if I actually had physical copies of them still. The first one is Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 was one of the most played games that I had as a child. After Dragon Warrior, that one took forever to play through and beat. But Mega Man 2, to me, had some of the most replay value of any game on the system. I played that over and over, just trying to, beat the different bosses in a different order so I had the worst weapons against them, just to, give myself an extra challenge. And it was just so much fun. I'd definitely love to get that one again. I just haven't found one in the wild, and I don't feel like buying it off eBay. The other one that would have made the list, really sad that I don't still have it, and that is Earthbound. I was working at the video store. It was a Video Watch, I believe it was. Then it turned into Hollywood Video. But I was working at the video store, and we had all the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. This was in the mid-90s. I think it was 96. But we ended up getting the PlayStation, and we got the Nintendo 64. So all this other stuff was, moved out and sold. Well, we kept all the boxes and manuals and all that kind of stuff in the back room of the video store. And when my manager told me to put out the Super Nintendo games, that was one of them that I cherry picked. I paid $5 for it, went to the back room, pulled out the brand new box, the big box, the brand new strategy guide. Everything was just so awesome. And I had never even played it, but I knew it was something that I really wanted to have. And I played through it. I beat it. I fell in love with it. That could be one of my top 3 all-time favorite games. Um, and there is quite a bit of nostalgic value behind it too. But I owned that for less than a year before it was ultimately stolen from me, and I've just never had an opportunity to have it again. So I don't know. Maybe I'll find a copy and try to play it again, and it won't be the same. But I don't know. We'll find out. I will find out one day. I will play it again. But that's my top 5 most nostalgic games, with a couple little bonuses thrown in. Now, there are a few people on here that I do not believe have made a video of their 5 most nostalgic games, and I would like to call them out, see if they'll throw up a video and talk to us, tell us what they loved. First of all, I'd like to ask Roaming Dan. He's definitely one of my favorite YouTubers, and as I've said before, he's pretty much the reason that I'm even here doing this. It's weird how you get your start. But anyway, I'd like to see a video from you, Roaming Dan. Second one is MT Shark 7. I don't believe that you've done a video, and it's about time. You have wonderful taste in games, and I'd really like to see what you have that, holds your love. And the third one that I'd like to tag in here is dmanswish. And definitely throw Tyler in here too, and show us what grabs your heart. You guys have wonderful collections, and you've been very passionate about games for a long time, and I know there's some items out there that you'd really like to talk about, and I, for one, would really like to hear about. So, yeah. Other than that, anybody else that's watched my channel, if you have not made one of these videos, discussing your most nostalgic video games from your childhood, or what kept you owning a system, or what kept you playing it, kept your attention. Make one of these videos, and then leave a link in the comments. I'd love to go and check them out. I love watching these things about what really has what drives people for their collections, what holds a place in their heart. And I love the background stories. So anyway, I'm going to leave a link to the channels for dmanswish, MT Shark 7, and Roaming Dan, and also for Retro Power Up. Thank you very much for tagging me in this, and I'm very glad to have been able to make a response video. So I'm going to have another pickup video coming just maybe in an hour or two. I really don't know. It's going to be a small one, but I got some interesting stuff yesterday, so I think I'll share. But anyway, other than that, thank you very much for checking this out. Leave me a comment below. If you don't feel like doing a video, just let me know in the comments, what are some of your most nostalgic video games. So other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.